You're tuning in to the Goldilocks presentation of the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show with Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony Rodriguez, aka Walking Crow, found transformational energy healing through a personal search into healing and was transformed by this experience. He made the decision to pursue training and has since become a certified energy healing practitioner with an emphasis on working with clients in recovery from addiction. His willingness to be open and listen has allowed him to be of service to many who seek a peaceful, serene, and healthier body, mind, and spirit. Call in now if you would like to speak with Anthony. The call-in number is 713-955-0332. Enjoy this transformational and healing show.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to another Tuesday edition of the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. My name is Anthony Rodriguez, Walking Crow, and I am your host. Welcome to another Taco Tuesday. Is it Taco Tuesday where you live? Because I know if I walk up the street here, I can start a gathering, a basket, and a plethora of tacos. If you eat that sort of thing. I really don't, but hey, what the heck. So welcome to Tuesday. It's a beautiful fall Tuesday here in Los Angeles as I look out the studio window, and I want to welcome you again. And before I do anything, I want you to take a little time and to ask Creator Great Spirit to come into the studio, come into the room, and as I burn sage and I clear this room and I clear the microphone and I clear my energy, the darkness of what's necessary and what isn't necessary, that those things would fall away and Creator Great Spirit would take those things away, and that I would be able to vibrate, that my voice would be able to vibrate into the world, into a good place, in a good way, and that I would be able to carry a good message along with my very special guest, Angela Jeanne Hartnett. Oh, all right. So welcome again. Boy, it's been a long week. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. This week was just an amazing week. I've been really busy doing powwows and medicine and working with kids and all kinds of stuff. The Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine has been hard at work and busy. Walking Crow has been doing his thing, whatever his thing is. And today we have a very special guest. My very special guest is Angela Jeanne Hartnett, KRI certified Kundalini yoga instructor teacher. Angela's legacy is dedicated to assisting seekers on their journey to connect to their own holistic health and wholeness. As a mother, temple keeper, shamanic water priestess, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and private mentor, Angela is offering intentional and deliberate tools for creating what you want in your life. As a networker, event coordinator, brand ambassador, and creator of multitude of projects, Angela is beloved in the global community as a new paradigm leader. Her passion is to assist in awakening the collective consciousness through the elemental connection to what is real, our Mother Earth. And I got to tell you something. Angela and I found each other before I bring her on. We found each other through Facebook, through what she teaches and through what I teach, and we came together and we've become friends for just about 2 years now. And I don't know if I love anybody more than I love Angela. Well, I do, but there's people in my life who I really care about, and Angela's on the top of that list, and she's on the top of that heap. And that's not to lessen anybody else that's in my life, believe me. There's people that I just absolutely adore. But with regard to the medicine, Angela is right there with us. And for me, we support each other 100% on both sides. And yes, well, maybe not above Tiffany White, Sage Woman. Tiffany just sent me a message. My producer, my lovely producer, who I want to thank for allowing us and giving us the space to do what it is we do to carry our message and our medicine. I want to remind you that you're listening to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine with me, Anthony Rodriguez, Walking Crow, your host. And if you want to call in, because you may want to call in and ask Angela some questions, because she's a pretty amazing person, you can call at area code 713-955-0332. 2. All right. And saying that, I want to remind you that next week, Listening to Smile is going to be on the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show with Ian Morse, an amazing musical innovator of binary beats and healing. So let's bring Angela on and say hello, and let's get started down the road to our incredible Tuesday. Hi, Angela. How's it going?
Hey, hey. Good afternoon. Happy Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. Yep. We celebrate Taco Tuesday around here, but without tacos. So, I was reading your bio, and I like you're about community. You're about bringing consciousness and awakening to communities, and who may or may not be awake or have consciousness. And I believe that's how we found each other, because we both carry that sort of message. I've known you for a couple of years now, and your message doesn't change like mine. It just progressively gets stronger on how you speak. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into the medicines that you work with and that you speak of?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I feel so incredibly honored, and it's very apparent this last few months here that the amount of healing that I've had in the last couple of years here is kind of coming full circle, thank goodness. And I'm just super grateful to have people, very few I should add, like you in my life. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I feel incredibly honored, and also, in our relationship of growing with the medicine is strengthening as well. And so it's really, truly an honor, and I have so much gratitude. So thank you.
Oh, yeah.
My story is pretty funny. I don't, when people ask you to tell me about your awakening, it's always kind of funny. 'Cause it's like, well, where do I start? Because I feel like I was like one of those children's games. It's called Chutes and Ladders, if anybody remembers, where you're going along, you're bumping along in life, you're going along, everything's kind of normal. And then all of a sudden, I can look back at the different times when I knew there had to be something more than what we were being told. So, it's almost like, wow, is there one really any given specific or particular spot where the awakening, quote unquote, started? It's kind of challenging to figure out exactly where that was. But I would say that in 2005, a gentleman, a dear friend of mine by the name of Scott Runyon, came into my life, and I was actually, most people don't know this about me, I was running for Mrs. Washington. I was married. I'd been married for about 13 years. And a guy named Scott Runyon told me about chemtrails and stuff. And I was like, chemtrails? And I went home, and at that time, Google was out. So in 2012 or something like that. Wow, it wasn't 2012. It would have been 2005. Excuse me. 2005, I was running for Mrs. Washington, and so I was like a Stepford wife at the time. My husband was in the military. I had a house and I had 2 cats and a beautiful house and a yard and a gorgeous daughter, and we're going along in life as many do. You're getting through, and we had ups and downs. Overall, I was doing really well. There was just this, I would say, an awakening happened when I looked up into the sky and saw that something wasn't normal. And so that's sort of a place I could start. And from there, I watched The Secret, the movie The Secret, and that really opened up some things. And then I started doing a 100-day challenge of co-creating my life the way I wanted it to look. And I read a lot of self-help books. I read Dr. Dyer and, all the many authors of self-help and spiritual assistance kind of books. And then, we were going along, and I realized that I was definitely in a place where I was going to change where I was heading personally, and ended up leaving my husband, and we ended up separating and have an amicable, cordial divorce, and are still friends. And then about 2007, some really interesting things started happening. So I think that was sort of the precipice, the beginning, and then I went to a Native American ceremony, and that's where everything changed. And that's what I know that we're going to talk about today is what I heard a Native American man speak about first medicine. And that was the changing place of my life when I heard that we were all water babies and that we come from a womb, we come from a mother, every human, and that we all have water in our bodies and that water is sacred. And I wept so hard that, I mean, my partner, Michael, was like, "Are you all right?" Because there was like 30 or 40 people there, and I was like, I mean, I wasn't a blubbering idiot, but pretty close. I lost it because I had never heard that depth of amazing consciousness before in my whole life. So that was really what changed things for me.
All right. So tell us a little bit about first medicine. I know about first medicine, but you when I hear you talk about it, it takes me to a whole new place when it comes to water and prayer and being with Mother Earth and just the whole concept of reconnecting to who and what we are, who and what we have always been.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe that many of us have a sense that there's got to be something more. It's that expanded sense of ourselves as divine beings, of spiritual beings, having a physical experience, that we all have a sense that there's got to be something more. Like when we look around and we see our world, there's got to be something more here. And so when you get into a message and hear that kind of expansiveness, that depth of consciousness, it moves you. It causes you to make water. That spiritual energy that moves through us will cause us to have tears. So we actually are water beings and we make water. We should never be ashamed when we're crying because we make water from our eyes. And so that water that we make from our eyes, we should let that flow. That's something that's really powerful with first medicine. That's one. And two is that we all come from our mother, which is that place of the amniotic fluid, right? That place where we were for 10 months while we gestated and were nurtured, and everything was cared for in our mother's womb while we were a baby and we were growing in her body. And so we recognize that we're all water babies too. That's the second piece. And then the third piece to first medicine is to recognize and honor women for that fact that we can carry life in our bodies and that we hold water in the womb, and that every month a woman cycles with the moon, and we shed first medicine. We shed the waters and the blood of our wombs. And so it's getting in contact with first medicine in the fact that we as women hold that life force energy in our bodies, and we flow with the moon every month and every cycle. And we come in right relation with our mother, and we come in right relations with our ancestors and the grandmothers. And then we come in contact with the earth as our mother. And so I call Mother Earth Mama. I've been working with the Ma energy as that water energy is matter. It's matre. It's mother energy. It's the mother liquid. It's really first medicine. So it's this is deep. I mean, this water is sacred substance that the Lakota people call, Miniwachoni. And that is sacred water. And so when we connect with the water and that first medicine, we have the opportunity to sense and to know and to acknowledge our sacredness, because we are all water beings. We're water babies.
This is, for me, this is quite amazing because I had to come into my practices, my indigenous practices of walking the red road and doing the things that I do as a 50-year-old in the second half of my life. And I never had any idea, the only thing that I had an idea of was cowboys and Indians and woo and that kind of nonsense that Hollywood likes to depict, and the stories are different kind of crazy stories are told. But once I stepped into the medicines of which I feel like I missed a lifetime, and I stepped into them, I know that I stepped in hip deep because my elders and my lodge teach me a lot. But a lot of what I have learned has been really on my own and listening to people like you, Angela, who just are not afraid to speak that truth. You don't hide from criticism or ridicule. And I got to tell you, that kind of bravery has given me permission to do the same. And I don't back down, and I'm not afraid to say what I have to say when it comes to Mother Earth and the elements, the four elements, and elemental prayer and smudging and caring for Mother and Gaia, Pachamama, however you want to describe her or whatever you want to call her. And and like I said, I have to say thank you for your bravery, because I didn't know how to be a brave soul before. I had no idea, and I've really stepped into my feet because of teachings like yours and teachings of Hector Herrera, Mazawali, my elder, and Picos Burnell, another one of my elders, and the only way I feel like I know how to say thank you is to continue the work that I do, and speak the truth in the medicine that I speak, because I don't know anything else. You can't change my mind. You can't tell me different.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you're working with essentially there, that bravery, I've been told, I am brave. And it makes me kind of laugh because, bravery is meaning you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
So another piece to the water is that we're water beings, right? So we're connected to the water and to the oceans and to the rivers and to the tides. And women especially, we're very disconnected from the idea that we cycle with the moon, which is directly related and connected to the waters. So in 2007, when I really woke up to this piece that we're speaking to even, I lived right next to the opening of the Columbia River and to the mouth of the ocean there. It's a very powerful spot. And I lived there for 9 years, and so I would go and I would make relations there at the river all the time, almost every day, and I still go all the time to the river. It's like my very favorite place to go because I've made relations with the water in a new way, in a balanced way, and I'm still working with this all the time. And I drink a lot of water, and I sat with elders, and I sit with elder people. I really don't have many friends my own age, actually. I always seem to sit with the elders. And when I would go to the river, I'd get songs, and I would hear chants, and I would start to hear, because I started to become in relationship. I started to have with the energies and the spirits of the land and the water there. And the energy spirits, they're sweet, they're gentle, they're kind, and they're benevolent. And you can feel them. And water, it directly relates to our emotions and our feelings. So we've talked about this quite a bit, but when you get in touch with your emotions and you start to feel your body, that's what I'm really teaching right now. I recognize is I'm teaching people, or sharing, I should say, with people to feel that it's okay to feel. And I'm wanting people to experiment. What's it feel like when you feel that? Get conscious with your feelings, because what are you in the mood to eat? What are you feeling right now? Are you tired? Connecting with your body. And Grandma Aggie is an elder that I've sat with multiple times. Grandma Aggie just had her 93rd birthday the other day. I wasn't able to be there, but she posted a sweet little live video. And she says, we're all water babies. Take care of your bodies. Drink lots of water. And in being able to sit with Grandma and be with her and be around the water bowl that one of the women carries, Suzanne McQueen carries, or Mathis, I recognize that the importance of caring and carrying for myself and carrying and caring for the water. This is my calling. I'm very brave, and it's very scary. It brings me to tears easily, very easily, because this is not easy. It's very emotional, and I'm a very emotional person, and I'm teaching other people to connect to their feelings and their emotions through the water. So thank you for seeing that bravery, but it's not easy. I talk about this a lot. This path is not for the weary.
Yeah, that's for sure. I know that yesterday when I left Fauché Learning Center and being with those kids and teaching them, when I was teaching them after, drumming on the floor and singing a song and just listening and having them share with me what it is they're learning about the indigenous peoples of the Americas. I had to go to work, but I stopped someplace and I was in a parking lot, and I got brave, and I started to cry, and I started to really feel for what was happening, what had happened in the past 24 hours, over a 24-hour period. And I started to feel about that. And I don't know what other people feel about it, but I know that I have learned to come into my emotions in a way that I feel everything. I just did that. I was over with my friend for lunch an hour ago. The same thing happened. We were talking about emotion and being with our emotions, and the tears start to come so easily for me. I was the other night, tears started to come. We appear on Facebook Lives. We log in to listen to somebody, and they realize that we're there, and they're touched by it, and it's like and I get touched back. The emotions don't stop, and you're right. It's not easy for us. It's not an easy walk. We've been prosecuted, ridiculed, talked about, insulted, and they just like our ancestors have been for lifetimes in eons. And you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care who sees or who wants to judge. It's like, this is who I am, and if you embrace it, great. And if you don't, not my loss. It really isn't. And sometimes I'm angered by it, but mostly I feel it in my body, in my fourth chakra, and I love teaching people to be to come out of the darkness of their thinking, but come into their soul, the light of their soul, but also the darkness of their body, the water, the emotion, and be with those things. And some of us are so hardened by life that we're not able to, and it takes some longer, and some can't at all, and they can't let go, and they're stuck in their throat and their voice, and they can't speak to it, and and it's hard to watch people like that. I just had a guy contact me today. He suffers from migraines, and I know why he suffers from migraines. So at some point, him and I are going to have, and he asked me if I would show him how to learn how to be in his body, and I was honored by that request, because he understands what I'm talking about when I say it. He's starting to understand, and maybe he'll take off that turned around hat that he's wearing that points to the direction of the issue, and I know that he'll listen, and I can't wait to move into that kind of work. But the emotion, I was sitting here listening to you, and I heard your emotion, and mine starts to come, because I'm a firm believer. I always take a bottle of water, and I tell people water seeks its own level, and I'll turn the bottle and show them how the water moves through the bottle. And it's the same thing with sharing of emotions. When you have them, and I react to it in the same way, water has sought its own level, and that's because I understand, and how can I help you? How can I be here for you? How can I support you? I think I said that to you the other day. I support you. I will stand behind you, next to you, in front of you. I am here for you. And it's so important, because I grew up with nobody supporting me as an emotional being, and I grew up not knowing how to be an emotional being. I was an emotional cripple for a lifetime.
Mm.
But thank Creator Great Spirit for awakening. You know.
One thing that you and I both carry is that medicine of the West is essentially what this is. And when you begin to learn, you know, indigenous cultures and open yourself to more than just maybe what we've been taught, you know I grew up very strong in some Christian-based religion, and I loved my childhood. I had a very good childhood, and I honor and respect and love my parents very much. Very conservative family, very good uprising. Ultimately, I loved every aspect of my childhood. My dad was very firm. My mom was a good woman. They've been married like 40 some years now, I think. So I had a good childhood, and I had a very, you know, what I would say fundamentalist, sort of conservative Christian upbringing, which many people in America, I would say, have. And so I don't at all shun any of that, but what I have now is opened up my consciousness to see that in going to other ceremonies and learning about other cultural religious, quote unquote, religious practices, really what I have learned is the natural way. And that's what Rod McAfee, one of my elders, teachings from Portland area, they would talk about getting in touch with what is natural. And my other elders, Kim and Mac from Canada, I went to Sundance this last summer with them. Mac talks about this a lot, like, you know, what is it that you're doing, and are we being intentional? And they are amazing medicine people, and it's about connecting to nature, the nature of who you really are. That's what you talk about a lot, and I call that your innate nature. And most everyone is disconnected from their innate nature. So when people talk about wanting to connect to their body, they'll say often, I just want to feel good. And what I say is it's really saying that, like, I would just want to feel God. I want to feel my source being, my real, who I really am. I want to be in touch with that. But we've all gotten so socially, you know, trained, literally like a dog, like you were saying the other day. We literally stand up, sit down, salivate according to what is around us, our environment. But we're not connected to what's real, the real environment of the earth, the real environment of having clean air, the real environment, which is with clean water, pure, clean water. And so when you connect to the natural way, you connect to your innate nature, and you connect to your emotions, boy, some things shift in your life, and that's good. And it can be it can be some real drastic things shift and are needed to shift in your life, because when you connect to your innate nature and the being of who you really are, that water baby, you essentially start to cry out for more. You want to open, you want to know who you really are. And one of the biggest things in life is to know thyself, to really get into, who am I? What is this place? What is my purpose for being here? So it's deep. And that is the medicine of the West. It's deep waters. It's into the deep psyche. It's into the emotions. And it's into a real reverent surrender and conscious place, and a lot of compassion and love. I talk about this a lot, like self-care, self-nurturance, and ultimately self-love. That's what the medicine of the West teaches us, how to unfurl and to get in touch with your innate nature.
I want to remind everybody that they're listening to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine with Anthony Rodriguez Walking Crow and my very special guest, Angela Jeanne Hartnett. And you can call in and ask questions at area code 713-955-0332. Now, I know, if I remember correctly, we met because of what I was talking about on social media, because I was coming into the direction of the West. I had very little knowledge of the medicine wheel, And what started to happen was, because I teach the energy centers, the chakras, that it started to make sense. The very little that I learned about the medicine wheel, it all started to make sense to me and started to come full circle for me with regard to how the body heals, how the body can heal, and really how the body should heal. And with regards to water, and I always seem to go back to the sacred water, darkness, healing, manifestation, that place of letting go, and it's like a constant theme with me. And you heard me, and I don't know what I was saying when you heard me, but when we found each other, you said, I want to work with you, and I didn't have any idea what that would look like, and I think what it looks like more than anything is we've kind of like mentored and supported each other over the last couple of years, and we do Facebook Live events, and we've met up in Shasta and done these little ceremonies that we do when we met there, but I never know how things are gonna look when they first happen, and I was accused of something because you and I were talking about working together, and I was accused of something because somebody thought that something else was going on when I met you, and I was like, no, that's not what's happening, and but and that thing has gone away. But I want to thank, I have to say thank you for the support, for hearing my voice, and not just you, but people like Reverend Tiffany White Sagewoman, my producer, Emma Molina Niquez, Jeannie Love, Shakoba Hawk Wing. These are friends of mine. Master Seal, David Hernandez. All these people who hear my voice and they don't say, you know what, get the hell out of here. They say, welcome. They say, welcome. And that's an odd thing for me. I still have moments where I don't know how to be with that because there was so much rejection for like a lifetime. And it's odd. And here comes the water. Here comes the emotion. Here comes the darkness. Here comes the connection. Here comes the letting go, direction of the West. It's difficult for me sometimes to connect with others because I just, that block was there for so long, and now that it's gone, it's like the floodgates just open up, and I want more, and I clamor for it, and it's not. I know that it's not neediness; it's wanting. It's wanting to be in medicine, wanting to be with more of that, and I don't want to say be with more of what I missed out on, but it's like when you try something for the first time that you really like, it's like, oh, maybe pie or something. You find that taste and it's like, oh man, I want more of that. I want more of that.
There's a program out there that, I speak to this, that we're not in a kind society. Our society is programmed to be mean, and there's a lot of bullying and things said that you would never say to someone's face, and that are typed or texted to people, online or onto their phones or into their computers, things you would never say to someone in person. And so we're being really called into, our truth of who we really are. And so for me, one of the practices that water really brings is a benevolent and kind energy, and also that light-hearted energy that we can be funny. And that's what the medicine of the West ultimately is. There's a heyoka, kind of clown, silly, childlike energy that is a backward energy that is powerful, very powerful. The feminine energy, the energy of the West is highly, highly powerful. And it's funny and it's lighthearted. And while it's serious, because it's just, why so serious? But it's also gentle and kind. And so it's important for us to tune into our innate nature. And in that, part of that is being kind. And I know that when we see another brother or another sister, and there's a kindness and a benevolence and a sharing of our heart space easily, very easily, with great ease, in fact, that my heart melts, and that melting is sort of like even watery. There's a fluidity to kindness. It comes out of me easily. I'm not mean by nature. And those of us that carry this, I do feel it's bestowed upon us as a trait and as a benevolent, I'm a benevolent benefactor of kindness. I just don't have a mean heart. I don't. And those of us that see that in one another, we recognize that in each other. So I see you, and I say I see you. I see you. It's not I see you and I want to, with other people, it's not like I want to take from you, or I see you and you're gonna give me what you got. It's like I see you for who you are, and I recognize the traits of your medicine, and I see you, and it's a recognition of you as a amazing, heartfelt man. And so, I see you.
It's interesting that, and this is from I guess my upbringing. The person that I wanted to see that most couldn't, or wouldn't, or didn't have the capability. And I talk about that. Sometimes people don't have the capacity to see or do or know. And I can't fault them for that as much as I want to shake them and say, hey, I'm right here. I can't. And sometimes, the direction of the west, direction of the water is about letting go, and Rumi speaks to it. My hands are they're for picking up and letting go. They're not for holding on. It's not mine to hold on to and try to force somebody into a medicine that's just not theirs, and being honored and being seen for me is a huge deal, because I was the kid that was told to leave the room, get out, go outside, get lost, be quiet, and it's like, oh, what do you do with that? Well, I figured out what to do. I figured out what to do with it. I have my voice and I vibrate out, and I'm on social media, and I have this show. Thank you, Tiffany White and Ingrid Turner. And I have a YouTube channel, and I have my workshops and seminars and all the stuff that I do. And thank you those who told me to be quiet and to be invisible, and who insulted me and hurt me and all those things, because it worked to my benefit, I think.
I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is that there's a lot of us that feel that we're very different. We're weird. We're not like anybody else. So there's a depth of aloneness that can come in, and that feeling, again, it's very hard to feel that, because feeling alone doesn't feel very good. I love my alone time, but I also love my community time. So it's coming into balance with, there's a knowing that when we come into this earth, we come in alone, and when we leave alone. And then, and we arrive through the water. We don't necessarily leave through the water, so they say. But what's fascinating about when you come into your innate nature is that you also recognize that aloneness. And it's really elemental. Like, you are made of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. And that aloneness is part of the journey. And there's a beauty to be found within that you're all alone. And you become either swept away in the program, the mean program, the self-loathing program, the self-hating program, or you tune into your innate nature and you jump into your joy. You deepen into self-care and self-love and self-nurturance, or you go along with the mean program, like I said, and it's really a choice. But when you tune into your innate nature, I think most people would find that we're all really great people. We all have beautiful spirits and beautiful hearts. And so it's helping people remember who they really are.
Oh yeah, remembering who and what I have always been, what I was always meant to be. I say that constantly, and I don't know if people actually know what I'm saying when I say that, because I feel like I have always known. I was flunked in the second grade, and I was labeled as hyperactive, and I went to Catholic school, I went to parochial school. I don't think I believe, and I came into this knowing probably about 10 years ago that I was just bored. They didn't know what to do with us, They were teachers that barely had a credential in an environment like a private setting like that. But they would make decisions for us that were, wow. I mean, because and a lot of times those decisions were violent, and they were dishonoring. I mean, I remember being abused and beaten at 5 years old in a school that, they were teaching about the Ascended Master, Christ consciousness, and it was like, wow, how, looking back now, how could they do that? And it's because they don't know. They didn't know. They came from a place where they were stripped of their indigenous knowing, of their knowledge, and were forced into a world that they were really unfamiliar with, and likewise with me. And I have to tell you something. I love the fact, and I want to be careful how I say this, because of who you are, what you know, and what you've made. I mean, you didn't make it who you are. You've come into the understanding of what you are, and I just, like I said, not everybody gets it. Sometimes people are just caught up in the mean world, and I have to say, I just came from a meeting with my friend Vivian Hartman over at Buffalo Bruce's. Amazingly enough, her place is called Buffalo Bruce's, Mercantile, and Buffalo. And she was talking about how people were mean to her, and they still are. They're mean to her. She's a light worker. She carries a huge, beautiful message, and people are insulting to her on a daily basis. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Or maybe I do get it, and I'm just not tolerant and accepting of it, because this is a beautiful soul that I've known, gosh, all my life, since high school, since early high school. And I remember when she saw me, she told me one day, Anthony, she said, or she calls me Tony. She says, Tony, I remember thinking when you were in school that you were going to do great things. And I heard that, and it struck me like it struck me right now. It's like she just said it to me right now, and I fell into the emotion of that, and the being seen of it, and the understanding of who I am, and the connection that was created by her saying that to me, and it deepened the connection between her and I, and we've been friends for almost 40 years, if not more, more than 40 years. That's a bizarre thing to me.
Well, we cherish people that are kind to us, right? Like, how many people, when they look back into their childhood, were deeply wounded emotionally from an adult or someone who was mean to them or someone who hurt them or victimized them, right? So many of us are dealing with that, or not dealing with that, or have no idea how to deal with it. And so for me, one of the biggest pieces that I've been talking about is putting yourself around people, and first of all, being kind to yourself, being gentle with yourself, giving yourself, right? We talk about this, giving yourself a piece of pie here and there, maybe a latte here and there, maybe a chai tea, maybe pancakes or French fries. Not eating that every day, not eating that crap every day. It's that there's something that's called emotional eating, or there's lots of ways to disconnect from your emotions, right? But it's all about connecting to being gentle and kind with yourself and allowing yourself something yucky maybe here and there on occasion. It's not about being so disciplined and so serious and so like rigid and so, mean to yourself that you aren't able to be kind and gentle to yourself. So that's something I speak to a lot. How many people are victimized and wounded walking children, really, stuck, arrested development at a very young age, so many people, so many. And we have a lot of people, if not all of us at this point in life, with all the crazy terrorist things that are happening, that we all have like PTSD and emotional trauma from what we've seen and what we've witnessed on television and whatever. So all of this out here, this Maya, this matrix, this energy that we're in, it's so crazy and chaotic. And so when we witness all, and we observe all of this out here, it's really good to come in here, into the heart, into the body, and sit and get quiet and be gentle and be kind with yourself.
Yeah. You know, one of the first things I do when I wake up in the morning is I sit up and I get quiet. I put my feet on the floor, or I go into another room and I sit in a chair that I don't normally sit in and just get quiet, you know, and for as long as possible, because I've always been one with a short attention span with regard to being quiet. The spirits are always speaking to me and something always pops up and I have to do something about it or something. So I sit quietly and, you know, or I'll go and I'll drum, or I'll go and I'll go wherever I need to go and walk and be mindful of the trees, be mindful of Mother Nature, be mindful of Earth, be mindful of the sky, and then these are all things I used to take for granted that I just had no clue about, you know, and I don't know what other people. No, maybe they don't think about me. Maybe it's just my ego. I don't know what other people think about that, but you know, I hear people complain about living in Los Angeles, and they say, you know, I don't know how you do it, and I'm like, well, I find a place of peace within all of my surroundings. It's about I'm the peace in the surroundings. In the surroundings, I don't try to find peace in the surroundings. I am the peace. You know, P-I-E-C-E. P-E-A-C-E, you know, I am within and without, you know, and I didn't know, and I believe that it's all those little moments that, you know, whether I'm in Sweat Lodge or whether I'm at the ocean, whether I'm at a body of water, or I'm walking on the rocks in Maui, you know, or something, all those connections bring me to this place of peace that I didn't have an understanding of ever, and now I don't necessarily know if I have an understanding, but I have a relationship with the peace.
What's fun about the word understand is that what is under me, I am standing on. Somebody told me, an elder told me that. So that when you're saying, oh yeah, I understand, then what you're actually saying is what is under me, I'm standing on. And that's
great.
That's that earth medicine of knowing. So then I'm understanding it. I'm bringing it into my body, and it's my truth. I'm like using my discernment. I'm using choice. I'm using reason. I'm using my mind, my intellect. I'm feeling that in my body. And so I'm bringing that new information in, and it's really resonating. And so then I bring it in as truth. And that's something that's kind of far and few between these days, because there's so much that seems false, it seems fake, and it's hard to understand. But one thing that's always constant is nature. It's Mother Earth. It's Mama. It's that mother energy of the earth vibration. It's slower. She's very slow. That's why animals that crawl on the earth are very slow-moving animals. Are earthbound animals like snake of the West. You know, they're very powerful to connect to the animals because it's earth. And the earth isn't fake. I got that, the other day after your long thread. That the things that are of the earth aren't fake. The things that are of the earth are real. And so we don't use synthetics. We try and use things that are of the earth because it's real. And so it's connecting to our consciousness. It's going beyond, you know, where we are now, going beyond in our mind, going on in our prayers, praying for what we want. And I got this in my vision quest years ago, was imaging in. Yeah, I'm using my imagination. I'm imaging, right? I'm bringing in what I want to have happen in my life through my imagination. So I image in that which I ultimately desire for my life. And it's to be around kind, intentional, deliberate, prayerful people that want better for our children, want better for the next 7 generations, that we're not here to just suck air, pay bills, sit in a cubicle, suck the resources of the earth and die. We're made for more. So it's not about living in a mediocre state of mind and just kind of clocking in mentally, clocking out, but getting embodied in our bodies and feeling our emotions, feeling it, not denying it, not judging them, not separating from them, working with any wounds that we have, not betraying ourselves, right? And not forsaking ourselves, staying right here, right now, like you always talk about. We talk about that a lot. Being rooted and having fruit, bearing fruit from your life. And these are the things we're disconnected from. So when we connect to that water, boy, look at where we can go. Connecting to first medicine, I really feel is essential. It's really essential.
You made reference to fake, and I'm gonna we have we're coming to the end of the term for today. But somebody asked me a question. It wasn't the first time I'd heard the question about if I make vegan drums. And my original response was I didn't know how to answer the question, and then I didn't. Then it was I kind of giggled at it, and I didn't know why anybody would ask that question. And people get offended. People got offended, and they don't. And I realized that they don't understand. And there are people who it said that they're doing work. They're going to have ceremony, and they were looking for this person was actually looking for a drummer, and I approached her, and when she asked me that question, I'm like, everything I use is of the earth, natural. It's earth medicine. And it's funny because you saw the thread. It created a long controversy, and people got hurt. People's feelings were hurt because they feel like somebody else was being rude when they were giving them a lesson of truth of what is and what isn't. I see people who tie sage with polyester, and I'm like, you don't do that. You're tying medicine with poison. Why are you doing that? And I have to teach them. And that's one of the reasons I do those videos when I'm tying sage. I want people to know this is what you use. You use natural, organic elements from Mother Earth, not man-made polyesters and twines like that to tie medicine in that way. And and that person got upset, and that doesn't want to work with me anymore. My feelings aren't hurt about that. That's not the kind of person or distorted medicine that I want to work with, because that's what that is. That's distorted. That's somebody who's not educated, and I believe maybe doing things. Their intentions are good, but they're doing things. What they say about the road of good intentions. They just don't know, and they should get educated. I don't care what shamanic school they went to, because I don't think there are any vegan shamanic schools. You know what I mean? In fact, Tiffany just reacted to that vegan drum. She just reacted to me on that. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to call anybody dumb or ignorant, and I don't want to be insulting, but I'm insulted by that question. I was like, and I got that same question in a place in Burbank, who they were offended by the question as well, because somebody went in there and asked them, hey, do you guys have vegan rattles or vegan drums? And they were like, what? I'm sure there are, but not. And you found one. You found a vegan buffalo drum online somewhere, Etsy, didn't you?
I don't even know what that means. Like, so in speaking to this, I personally have chosen to be vegan. I've been living that way for about 20 days, pretty disciplined. And I'm witnessing a dear friend of mine, Petra, who does Eat Juicy Living and Green Smoothie Gangster. She's awesome. She's been doing that for quite a while and had stopped eating eggs and stuff because just getting ridiculed by people. And what I realize is that I'm living vegan because I don't like the way that the animals are treated. But it's beyond veganism. What I'm not doing like some rigid political statement. I'm going beyond vegan. And this is what I'm glad we're bringing this up because, you know, when you consciously connect to what you eat and what you bring into your body, what you bring into your mind, what you're bringing in and what you're vibrating out, like you say, it's powerful medicine. And I joke about eating unhealthy things, and I joke about eating whole pies or sweet cakes. It's funny. It's good to laugh, you know, and that's what's good about this kind of thing is it's not about I'm vegan and I'm some kind of Nazi or I'm some kind of like, you know, super intense, disciplined person that, you know, is frail and not connected to their body because they're so intent on not eating animals. Like that's not what it is to me. What veganism and beyond veganism is what I'm doing, which is when I eat, I connect to it as medicine. Even if it's silly and emotional, but it's still like joking is good. And maybe everything I eat isn't totally healthy for my body. And it's important to connect to our food. Very important to connect to what you're eating for your health. But it's also very important to connect to why and what you're eating and how it's been sourced, you know, where it's coming from and the people who cook it and all that. It's very important. But I can tell you, because I've been doing this now for over 60 days, almost, well, I don't know, we're up into 75 days. The most important part of eating is connecting to what it is you're eating and how it's affecting your body and how it was cared for and who touched it, you know, all of that. The ideal would be that it comes right out of the ground and it goes right into your salad. Of course, that would be the ideal. Or that you have chickens and then it comes right out and then you can eat as healthy, as fully healthy as possible. How our ancestors used to eat, right?
Yep.
But that's not how things are now. And it's not all benevolent. So what I'm teaching people is being kind, again, being lighthearted and connecting to what is most important, which to me is consciousness, beyond consciousness. And it's beyond veganism. It's connecting to what is real, connecting to yourself and connecting to the earth, the air, the fire, and the water in our spirit. That's what's most important.
You know, I want to, Angela, I want to thank you for being on the show today. You bring a lot of important information, and you reminded me as I was in that classroom yesterday with those children. The last two that spent time with me were two young girls, probably about, well, they're in third grade. I don't know how old a third grader is, 8 years old. And you have medicine to offer people like that who are, you know, they plop them down in front of televisions and they put Game Boys or whatever in front of them, and they begin to create distorted thinking. And I'm reminded that our communities need medicine women like you and medicine women like Tiffany White Sage Woman and Emma Molina Niquez and others, because we're not being taught, and we need to be taught, and we need to return. And I want to thank you for coming on to the show and being here with me and us and carrying your medicine and being a part of my life and the lives of those that you touch on a daily basis. And I want to remind everybody that you've been listening to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine with Anthony Rodriguez, Walking Crow, and my very, very, very special guest, Angela Jeanne Hartnett. And maybe we'll have to continue this conversation on another show, but I really want to thank you for being with us, Angela. And I want to thank all those who tuned in today on another Transformational Tuesday, Transformational Taco Tuesday. And I hope you all have a beautiful week. And remember, you can find me at Anthony at sacreddrummedicine.com, or you can go to my website at sacreddrum24.weebly.com and get more information on me and what I do. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope everybody has a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you. Blessings to you. Aho.